everybody, welcome into Seydel Overtones. I'm PT Gazell. My guest tonight lives on the West Coast, and he's not only making a name for himself out there as a musician and a great harmonica player in the harmonica community and across the U.S., but he's also starting to make inroads overseas as well. Help me welcome in, if you will, Aki Kumar. Hey, Aki, how are you?
How you doing, PT? Good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you. You know, I have to admit, I wasn't that familiar with your stuff until maybe, 6 or 7 months ago, and I'd seen your name, but once I started to listen to it, I was really intrigued because the first thing I noticed was it seems like there's a real maturity to your playing, which, for somebody younger is not typically always the case. And I wonder if you've noticed that, or if has your approach musically always kind of been more reserved and thinking more along the lines of quality rather than quantity?
Yeah, well, as far as playing goes, I've never really been one that's, I haven't really chased, speed licks or whatever you want to call them, something that's flashy. And when you think about big tone, I think you kind of want to play a little bit reserved to let that shine and let that cut through. And that's kind of been my approach since I started. You might know I learned from David Barrett a lot of my early harmonica techniques. And David is a monster player himself, and somebody that has big fat tone. I guess you're calling it maturity, but that's kind of the sound I've always chased.
Setting aside harmonica, who are some of your musical influences?
Well, that's very hard to state in a very short answer, because when I was growing up, I had this unique and good fortune to be exposed to, just from a listening perspective, not live music as such, just from listening to a good mix of Indian music and Western music, Western pop, classical music as well. So a lot of influences, and I never shied away from listening to anything. So I studied a little traditional Indian music when I was 8 years old, which they call Hindustani music, and I listened to a lot of what they call Bollywood music. I listened to a lot of pop, Stevie Wonder, Beatles, and my influences are really all over the place, generally speaking.
Well, I think it's interesting because you bring up kind of your history a little bit. For those of you that don't know, Aki grew up in Mumbai in India. And there's one song on your debut CD which is called "Don't Hold Back." There's actually a kind of a Bollywood tune on there, isn't there?
There is. It's a classic Bollywood song that I kind of put a blues twist on.
I was kind of clicking through some of the tracks, and I went, "Wow, what was that?" And then I looked at the title and read some of the liner notes, and I went, "Wow, that's pretty cool."
Well, if you like that one, I'll just mention that my next record is going to be all of that.
Oh, really?
Fusion between Bollywood and blues. It's already almost ready to be released in a few weeks.
Excellent, man. Excellent. So who did you use for musicians on that?
That's what's funny about it, is it's truly a blues effort. So I used the best blues musicians I could find. Kid Anderson on guitar, the Norwegian menace. He's also engineered and produced the session. The great Jim Pugh on keyboard, and as many folks would know, Jim has worked with some of the greats in the blues industry, including Robert Cray for many decades. And I have June Kaur on drums, and June is currently touring with Charlie Musselwhite and has been for over 10 years. And on bass, I had Vance Ellers, who's one of the superstar bass players here in the Bay Area. So that's the core team.
Well, that's a killer lineup, man. I mean, it's hard. I can't imagine it not sounding good. So I'm looking forward to that too. All your stuff is available at your website. Is that the best way to access it?
My website, also CD Baby, carries all of my CDs. Okay. And this particular one isn't out yet, but it should be up when it gets released.
And what's the title going to be of it?
The title is Aki Goes to Bollywood.
I love it, man. That's great. You mentioned David Barrett, and that's one of the other things I wanted to touch on. You were involved in a very cool project with him and Gary Smith entitled "It Takes Three." Yeah. And just knowing personal experience, having recorded a harmonica duet album with Brendan Power back in 2008. I know the preparation and the thought that goes into doing something like that, because the last thing you want to do is have it come off sounding like the Harmonic Cats, because that's not what you're trying to do here, right?
No,
and so exponentially, I can just imagine that with 3 harmonicas, the pre-production on it, and of course David's so organized. I mean, one of his hallmarks is organization. But I can just imagine the pre-production and the thought that went into that project. You want to talk about that a little?
I'll have to say that a lot of the credit for that project, again, really goes to Dave, including a lot of the planning, the vision, and the preparation. A lot of the cool horn arrangements, for instance, that you hear on that record, they were really put together by Dave. He thought those through, and we rehearsed those parts very carefully. And yes, you're right. The point was not to sound like the Harmonic Cats. It was more to sound like a horn section there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's a real fine line with that too, because you can, if the harmonies are not structured correctly, or if the voicing is not done correctly, then it starts to sound like the Harmonic Cats. And and the Harmonic Cats were great, and they had their own sound and everything, but that's not what you were trying to do.
That's not what we were going for.
No, of course not.
And we didn't want to lose. We didn't want it to be so structured that it sounds almost too choreographed. So there was an element of looseness in there as well that we allowed to exist. And
I didn't get that impression at all, man. It came off really well. You could tell thought went into it, but you could tell that there was that live energy still involved with it. I hear a lot of elements in your playing that kind of emulate a lot of the elements of what makes up West Coast blues, but at times there's also the real authentic kind of Chicago style stuff too, from what I hear. And the thing that I really like is that it doesn't seem like you're afraid to play acoustically at all, man. You're not afraid to set down the big rig and step up to a mic and play. So you like to do that, I guess.
I love doing that, absolutely. I love the sound of acoustic harmonica, and that's really the sound of harmonica, I think, that attracts all of us, because none of us went into a harmonica store and picked up an amplified harmonica. We went to the acoustic harp to begin with, and of course, playing amplified is a beautiful thing, but if you listen to blues and you listen to all the great Chicago blues players, they were all monster acoustic players, including Little Walter, who's the king of amplified playing. So that's one thing that I always paid attention to, and I love playing acoustic. It gives me a lot of dynamic, expressive ability. It also lets me use my hands, which you can do amplified, but I think you can put them to better use when you're playing acoustic. So it gives you a lot of variety in your live shows.
It's really refreshing when guys will step up to the mic and do something a little bit different and do some of that acoustic stuff, I think. I want to pause here for a second, and I want to feature a track from Don't Hold Back. So let's listen to one of the tracks. This is called Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Day. The time run out, man. You can't stay. The screaming and the crying. You got to go. Help me, St. Peter, won't you open the door? Yes, I'm coming. Yes, I'm coming.
So that's a tune entitled Judgment Day from Don't Hold Back, Aki Kumar. And what I hear on there, man, there's some soulful stuff happening in there, I think. And you had mentioned earlier, kind of joking around that, part of the reason of your sound is Seydel. But let's talk about that just for a second. What Seydel equipment are you using?
I play pretty much exclusively the 1847s, and I love them. The big, bright sound. And I've been playing them for, I think, close to 7 or 8 years. since I first got introduced to them. When I started out, I just had a few of those harps, and now I have basically a full set and backups, and then backups for the backups. And it's the only harp I play live.
So when you switched, or when you went to playing Seydels, did you have any adjustment period on the size of the comb or the stainless steel reeds? Was there?
I did, but I didn't realize it at the time because I wasn't that good of a player.
Okay.
To understand and appreciate what that change meant. Now I appreciate it a whole lot more when I, play any of the other brands. I mean, size aside, the harp sounded killer.
Yeah.
I remember playing the first few notes and going, whoa. It was such a huge sound, a huge acoustic sound coming out of it, that I didn't really, even if you had told me at the time that the harp is just slightly bigger, I wouldn't have cared because it sounded great.
So you just got back recently, I mean, not too long ago. Were you in Norway? Is that where you were?
No, I actually skipped Norway on this trip. I was in Sweden.
In Sweden, okay.
Spent a little more time in Finland and did one show in Germany, in Berlin.
And how were those? Was it fun?
They were all great. I love going to Europe. I think the audiences there are very enthusiastic about blues.
I'm willing to bet that you've got a great overseas story that you can tell me.
Well, there's always interesting overseas stories. I guess I could tell you this one from a show we did in Finland, and I think the town was Rauma. And we'd just done this show, and it was the end of the night, really. I'd sold my CDs, and we were sitting just waiting for the folks to clear the place out. And there was this one gentleman who had been lingering, and he had a great time because I had seen him for the previous 3 hours just having a good time and dancing and everything. So he kind of stumbles up to the table where I'm sitting, and he goes, well, I want your best CD. And he had a few. So I go, all right, man, you can have my CD. And I go get my CD from the box. And I go, here's the CD. And he goes, how much for this? And I go, 20 euros. We've been selling them for 20 all night and, announcing that over and over again. He goes, 20 euros? That's too much. You guys were awful. And it was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment where this guy was trying to haggle with me, essentially, but also try to give me a reason for why he was doing it. But the cool thing is I did get the 20 euros out of him.
Oh, that's great, man. Yeah, I'm always amazed when the initial question the guy asked you, I'm always amazed at that stuff because it's like, I want your best CD or something. It's like, well, the other ones, I mean. It's
like picking one of your favorite children.
Yeah, I didn't really put anything out that I was ashamed of, Well, man, it's been great talking to you, folks. You're watching at the Seydel website. A lot of you are watching this at the Seydel website. And one of the things that I noticed there recently was a thing called Tips of the Week. And it's pretty cool because if you go in there, there's like 37 or 40, I forget the exact number, different tips that you can click on, and each one of them has some great info. I mean, it's everything from basic reed offset for your harmonicas, how to maintain your valves. There are some things you can download, like a virtual tuner, a metronome. I mean, the list goes on and on. Go in there, check that out. I mean, surely everybody that visits the site could find 1 out of 37 things that would give you some information and be of some value. And check out all the other great products that are in there while you're there. Aki, it's been great talking to you. Thanks for taking time to stop by Seydel Overtones, and I really hope we get to meet up live sometime. I'd love to do some playing with you, man.
Yeah, man, Petey, it's been wonderful meeting you and talking to you, and I also hope that we can jam together sometime soon.
All right, man. Well, take care. Be careful traveling and have a great time. We'll see you, Aki.
Thank you, man.
All right, man.